the first one back after a very adventurous November and December. Little
Yeah,
rusty. How are you, Therese?
I'm doing good. We were just talking about how weird, I mean, 2024 starts and like we've had everything already in 2024, right? We've had
Right?
manipulated weather, we've
Mm.
had
Hmm.
aliens, maybe question mark. What else have we had? Um, oh yeah, just shenanigans with how they're moving people around from over the border and
Hmm.
like what's been
Yeah.
happening in Canada? You guys got a really bad cold front or something?
Yeah, and I think we should do a whole one on the immigration thing because that's, I mean, according to a lot of people, having a really significant negative impact on the housing market here. House prices are through the
That's
roof.
right. It's hitting
Um,
Canada now, right? Like,
yeah, especially Alberta because our premier seems to be non-woke so far and really against all the stuff. And so tons of people are moving to Alberta because,
yeah,
um, but it's really, really having an impact on the housing market. And also because building a new house is costing so much more right now because materials are a lot more than they used to be. So, yeah, anyways, we should do a whole episode on all that. But here in Canada, well, what's going on? They just passed a law to put tampons in men's and boys' washrooms. So that's a thing and legitimately happening. Um, like who likes the PM? Nobody. I don't know anyone who does.
okay.
Um, all the stuff with the censorship is still rolling around. The stuff with the supplements, right? Like companies are pulling out
Right.
of Canada. It's like, okay, like I'm ready for the movie to be over. Let's like get this stuff dealt with so that we don't have these things, be, like I want to be able to take my vitamins. I want to be able to share my podcast. I want to be able to do what I want to do, like
Yeah.
it's kind of I try not to just honestly pay attention to it because it just kind of agitates me.
I know. I know. This is one of those things where you have to learn how to hold it lightly and with
Mm-hmm.
detachment while at the same time directing your energy towards what you want.
Yeah.
And that's been a message that my team has been nailing home to pretty
Mm-hmm.
much me and every client I talk to. It's like they keep talking to me about it's your focus, right? Like we have to understand that these timelines all play out. Every single one plays out. And what do I mean by that? As I mean that the highest timeline is going to play out. So is the
Yes.
lowest and all the
Yes.
variations in between. And so a big part of it for us is our focus. It's not that we can't look at things that are on another timeline, but if we get emotional about what we're looking at, we're aligning to that timeline.
Yeah. And it makes sense. And you know what? That's I think part of the human and the growth is like when it gets personal, it's hard to not get emotional. It's like when we had all those fires right before our provincial election last year and friends and neighbors and people living in the country were catching all these people, these arsonists on their like trail cams starting fires. You're just like, oh my gosh, like
I know.
how dirty,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? So it's an opportunity for us to grow and like really work on the detachment because it's easy when I'm watching stuff that's like, no, I'm like, that sucks, but like it's part of the movie and it has to happen to wake people up. But when it's here, I'm like,
Yeah.
could it just
And
be over?
I know. And the hardest part is we are in the precipice year. This is the
Yeah.
top. This is the big finale year, which means everything's going to get closer and closer to home.
Yeah.
And it's going to be more of a challenge to detach from it if you haven't been practicing on the lighter stuff.
Right. Yeah.
So it really is kind of our job right now. It's like when they're talking about meditation, you want to practice your meditation when you don't need to use it so that when you need to
Yes.
use it, you can activate it,
Yes,
right?
exactly. And I think that's what we want to talk about today is the energy and do a read and then also talk about like the key word that keeps coming in is grounding, grounding, grounded. What are you doing to get grounded, right? And that is
Mm-hmm.
like you just said, don't just use the meditation or the tapping or the breath work when you need it. It's like building this consistent ritual where you're practicing regularly so that when it comes up, it's not going to hit you so hard.
That's right, because it's hard to reach for tools when you're in fight and flight.
Oh,
You know,
totally.
it's
Yeah.
gone, that they're gone. So if you're
Yeah.
using a tool consistently, you will have the wherewithal to reach for it when you need it.
Yeah.
When you're not using it consistently, you know what that's like. It's like I know it's like we have all these tools at our disposal, but
Yeah.
still, like in our private sessions, you're like, are you doing like your sacred rage work? And I'm like, oh
Yeah.
right, I could have done that.
Yeah.
Could have chosen
Totally.
that. But if we're not choosing it consistently, it's
Mhm.
hard to remember. So
Yeah.
we're at this point right now where I feel like our collective team is just reminding you, like, look, it's going to get weird.
Mhm.
And I got this really interesting dream metaphor. Oh God, what was happening in the dream? I was falling out of something. So I was falling.
Oh.
I can't remember if I was in a plane or something. There was something I was falling out of. And all I know is that I reminded myself, relax your body. Like you won't feel that sickening feeling if you just let yourself relax.
Right.
And I feel like that was a metaphor for just going through this year.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like you might feel like you're falling,
Yeah.
but that sickening feeling happens when you're clenching and holding on.
Yeah.
You need to relax. You need to like let go. As you do that, all of that stomach knot and nausea and stuff kind of goes down, and you just kind of flow
Yeah.
with what's going on.
100%. Yeah, totally. And I think everything we've been through so far has really initiated us to help us, right, with that.
Sure.
So, yeah, like the energy feels different so far, right? It's an energy I haven't really felt before, but it feels exciting. Like I don't know about you, but I'm
Yeah.
just like I'm excited. Like finally things are coming together. Like
Mm-hmm.
amongst all the noise, it's just like, ooh, it's
Yeah.
exciting.
I know, like I felt that way. So the stories. Let's start with Miami because that one was an interesting one, and everyone's got a different read on it with the whether there were aliens there or not, right? So I got a very different take on what was going on there. But I remember looking at them and going, you know what? If these were real, I would feel something, and I felt
Yeah.
nothing.
Hmm.
It was like watching a movie,
Yeah.
when I was looking at it. So I was like, huh, that's interesting. And I'm like, I'm not afraid to look at it. These are the things that I think if I was if my nervous system wasn't so regulated, I might react to it. And I'm just not.
Right.
It feels like it is like I'm watching a show that's not about where we are, it's about some other place.
Hmm.
And I just mean like on another timeline, even, it's
Yeah.
like, oh, I get to see that timeline, but I'm not really participating with it.
Totally. That's how I feel too. Like with that one, I didn't even really like look at it at all. I'm just like, oh yeah, whatever that is. Like I can't be bothered. I don't have the energy because yeah, there's just so much, right? And it's like, what's a distraction? What's real? What's not? And that's just going to continue to snowball and happen more and more,
Yeah.
right? And I think that being mindful of where we're emitting our energy right now is really important, right? Because we can be drained quickly, especially for spending a lot of time on devices and phones. Like maybe that's one of the reasons I'm still having crappy sleep is because I'm like, I want to see what's going on, or like I'm, trying to do stuff on my computer, and then it's like, oh, I should be wrapping up, right? So, those tech boundaries I think are really important right now. And something that I kind of told myself a long time ago was like, if I need to know something, it will get to me, and it will get to me in like a easy and positive way, right? So,
I think that's a good place to go. I know that like when the Epstein stuff came out, even though a lot of us know kind of some basic
yeah.
stuff that's going on, I remember getting that feeling I had back in 2020 every time new information came out, and I was like, what's happening now? Like,
You're like, oh my gosh,
right?
what is it? Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Which it's nice to see that stuff starting to come out more. And it's just the tip of the iceberg. I know a colleague just sent me um a note about a doctor here in Alberta that got arrested for the Epstein kind of stuff with a 5-year-old. So it's
Oh
like
my God.
it's horrible, but the sad truth is so deeply infiltrated. People have no idea. It's not just these big wigs. It is sadly it could be people in your local community and you have no idea. And I think that's part of what the shock factor is going to be, right?
Well, and like for a long time, people didn't believe it was as prevalent as it is. And
Yeah.
I remember hearing about this back in like 2006. My brother, who was in the Air Force, his best friend is on the police force, and he was in a special unit where they would confiscate materials and review it. And he was in the CP unit, which I had never heard of. I'm not going to say it out loud because we're live and we can
Yeah.
get censored for it, but it has to do with children and inappropriate viewing content. You guys can put that
Yeah.
together. And I remember him telling me about that back in 2006, and I couldn't process it. I'm like, wait, what?
Yeah.
That's a thing that exists? And he was very solemn and serious. He was like, yes. And he's like, it's more prevalent than you realize. And I just remember feeling absolutely flabbergasted and shocked. Like it never occurred to me that that could even happen.
I know.
And then years later, here we are. Like Amber and I learned a lot about that in 2020, and you find out, and it's devastating at first when you I mean, it's still devastating, but it's like now I can comprehend it. Back then, I couldn't even imagine that that's possible.
I know.
But the good news is it's getting cleaned up. There's a lot to clean up though. And that's the part that's sickening, because it would be one thing if it was like 600 people doing it. But apparently in 2020 itself, during the lockdown, those numbers of how many children were being victimized by it went up. And that's one of the, I think, hardest things that people need to wake up to, is that the most innocent in our societies, and it's global, it's all over the world, are being victimized in this way, and much worse. And it's not a conspiracy, and it's not something that someone's making up to be extreme. It's actually that extreme. And the only hope I have right now is that so much light is being shed on it. It's no longer in the dark recesses where no one sees it. Now people are seeing it. It's whether or not people can accept what they see. And we need to accept it, because acceptance is the only way we're going to change it. If we see it but we're in denial, nothing's changing.
Totally.
But thankfully a lot of people are aware of it and are seeing it and are pushing back on it. But that, I think, is one of the hardest things that's going to really hit people this year, is really finding out just how bad this is. And Epstein is only the itty bitty tip of the iceberg that leads to this very massive iceberg.
100%. Yeah. So the energy has been all over the place. The Schumann resonance has been like wild. We've been having so much 5D light coding coming onto the planet. And sleep and ascension symptoms. My gallbladder had a big purge January 1st. There's a lot of energy going on. So can we do a bit of an energy read? What's the second half of January going to be like? We're the 17th today. Like we still have a couple of weeks to go. Like, is it going to keep ramping up, or is it going to settle down now? But yeah, it just feels like we hit the ground running, like no time wasted.
Okay.
And if
so
any of you
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, if any of you viewing live have a question, leave it in the chat or the comments. We're glad you're
so
here.
just asking my team, like, what are some themes that we're going to see at the end of January here? Okay. You want to come out? Okay, you. Okay. Oh, interesting. Okay, so the one I found that really interesting is the world is coming up at the end of January. So something is successfully, there's something successfully wrapping up here. I feel like I'm trying to get an idea like on what that is, because I got another one that's a celebration card. Like we've got two things that are like talking about that. There's something that wraps up, like that we wanted to see come to a completion or wrap up here. Um, it's got, it activates a lot of people emotionally and even on an intuitive level. Some big hits coming in, and I keep getting like, if I'm looking at this, just I feel like off-world activity with this one.
Yeah, I'm getting chills. I remember Blossom's channeling a few weeks ago with White Cloud, and the channeling talked about how there would be this massive, like, overflow of good energy coming onto the planet in the coming weeks, and that like it would just significantly, like, people would feel it and it would feel so good, and it's going to expand people's intuitions and their gifts, like literally said in the coming weeks, like
Yeah.
this is going to happen.
So this is talking about success through responsibility. Like we've done something, like we achieved a level. It's technically the last card you get if you're going through the major arcana, which is the spiritual journey. And this is the card that says you did it. So we did it, and then we're also celebrating it. Four of Wands is a celebration card. It's like happy endings, like good things came. And then we've got the Queen of Cups here. She is the psychic queen, the emotionally balanced queen, and she's in an upright position. So it's through your emotional state that you are going to sense this. So it's not necessarily something that's visual. Like if you're waiting for a physical thing, that's not what this is. This is emotions. This is intuition popping on. So I get the sense that you're just going to know. It's a gut feeling, something just resolved or up leveled.
Yeah.
And you're going to know it. It's going to feel really good. It's going to feel like that satisfaction. Let me just talk to my pendulum here really quick. Does this have to do, team, from the highest truth? Does this have to do with a solar energy upgrade from the highest truth? Does this have to do with a solar energy upgrade? Yes or no? Yeah, we're getting something. We're going to get dosed with something. I feel like it's the way I understand it is it's not just going to be one big solar flash. It's like, whoom, whoom, wham, like it's what it does. So we get a big hit, which means you go up a level.
Yeah. Which is required for everything to come, I think, right? We need like upgrades, coding, like all of it. That's going to keep continuing to help us get to this level of feeling like we rise up like the phoenix and nothing, right? We can weather anything that comes our way, just stay in our power, stay in our light.
Yep. So, oh my God, I forgot the Kali Yuga. Okay, so in case you guys hadn't heard about this, there was this on the 15th of January was predicted the end of the Kali Yuga era, which is the shadow or dark era, according to like Vedic astrology or Hindu belief system. It's one or both of those. And how they calculated that, I actually felt like it had ended already, because at least in the terms that I understand it. So I want you to imagine with me really quick the periods of time. We've got a golden age, and I want you to see a clock. So see a clock, 12, 6, 3, 9. And from 9 until 3 on the clock, that whole half is considered a golden age. Then underneath that, between like 3 to 5 would be a silver age, and then you've got your bronze age, and then the dark age at the bottom. And the dark age is the smallest or shortest time, and then it builds back up again, where you've got another bronze age, silver age, and into the golden age. So Kali Yuga lines up with the dark age.
Okay.
And what they're saying is that we're officially done. We're out of that period. It's the hardest period. And on January 15th, we've come out. So that's only 2 days ago. We've been out. So there is this wrapping up. Now, with the end of that, I assume it's similar to this clock I'm telling you about.
Yeah.
As we come out of the darkness, we rise, and we rise in consciousness, we rise in ability, we rise in remembering, but we're coming up and out. And what's really interesting is that I keep getting told we're going to be in the golden age.
Yeah.
Now, if you look at the clock, you see that there's usually time periods associated with it. And it's like, I think 1,000 years on the top, or hundreds of years. And I'm like, how the heck are we going to be in a golden age if we just came out of the dark? Because
Yeah.
you have to rise through the others. But we get an express pass
Right.
to boost
Yeah.
into, and that's what the solar flash is going to do.
Yeah.
It's going to express you in a short period of time. There's going to be hundreds of years of evolution within us in an instant,
Yeah.
right? So they're letting us know that that age we should be celebrating. You should be celebrating that we're out of this period, because truly, what you're going to see from here, and this is the year of disclosure. We said that last year, and I'm confirming that it is the year of disclosure. It doesn't mean necessarily we're going to get all disclosure.
Yeah.
Disclosure is very
It
complicated,
kicks it off though, in a
but
big
you
way.
will get a lot, and maybe for some people, maybe not the ones listening to this, but maybe more than they're ready for. More than you're ready for. But you should celebrate that, because that's proof that we're out of the dark age. When we're in a dark age, the darkest age means no conscious, like there's no information available. You don't
Right.
know what you don't know. You
Yeah.
are in the dark, literally. And anytime information starts pouring out, and especially that's why I'm like, it's got to be, I already felt like we moved through the dark because so much information is pouring through. But you're
Yeah.
going to see this year that things that were considered conspiracy or wackadoodle or out there, that a lot of people are going to finally get it. They're going
Yeah.
to finally understand that, no, that was true. It's just the truth is stranger than fiction
It
sometimes.
is. Yeah, exactly. For sure.
Yeah.
No, thank you for explaining about that. And it feels very resonant to some other things that I've heard as well. And so it'll be really fun to go through this next upgrade,
Yeah.
right? And get ready for the next level of what's to come in
It-
February and beyond.
it's going to be weird, but we're going to be so excited, because at the same
Yes.
time, so the weirder it gets, again,
Yes.
I'm going back to the whole, like, Amber was saying, ground yourself. Like I'm saying, meditate or practice being calm, because
Yeah.
as we get more activated, it gets weirder out there.
Yeah.
But we counter it with this knowing, with this
Exactly.
calm, with this, like, no, it's getting really good. You got to
Yeah.
trust that feeling, because your eyes are going to show you something different than how you feel
Yeah,
inside.
exactly. And the louder and crazier it gets, the closer we are to their end and the new, right? So
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
inevitable, it's happening, it's going to happen. So grounding, I think there's so many ways that we can choose to do this, but to me, the meditation is one of my favorites. Like people are always looking for peace outside of themselves, but the peace is truly within you, right? And the sanctuary. So get into a meditation practice. It could be as simple as just sitting in a comfortable position or laying and just practicing sitting or laying with relaxing music. Put on solfeggio frequencies, do a visualization, whatever you feel called to, but meditation is great. Maybe for you, it's breath and really finding your breath and deep breathing. Maybe it's EFT tapping, which is such a really powerful technique to regulate your nervous system, clear out negative thoughts and limiting beliefs, and bring in more of what you want. So that is another really powerful tool. Maybe for you, it is the sacred rage. Like that was my go-to in 2023. I'm sure I'll need to do it again at some point here, but like when you have such a buildup of negative emotion in your body, and this emotion could have been stuck in your body from when you were a child, or it could have been a past life, or just something like a lot of guilt or shame or really heavy, dense emotion, anger, frustration, fear. One of the best things you can do is use this technique to help move the energy up and out of the body and the emotion up and out, because sometimes we can be feeling all this negative emotion, but if we don't move it out, the meditation, the breath, the journal, it's just like, oh my gosh, I did that, but I still feel this intense state of emotion. And I find
Mm-hmm.
that the sacred rage, which is essentially put on a timer for 5 minutes, go into your room, close the door, beat up your pillow, scream into your pillow, really feel all the emotion and move it out. I swear to you, you'll do that. A few minutes later, you'll start to feel relief and you'll start to feel things regulate. And in an hour, the end of the day, you'll just feel like, wow, like it's gone, or it feels so much better, right? And so move the energy and emotion out with things like that, somatic shaking, dancing, walking, right? Moving your body in some way. And then maybe for you, what grounds you is yeah, the meditation, the breath, the tapping, the journaling. Maybe it's a yoga practice and it's very slow and restorative. Maybe it is a
Yeah.
journal practice, right? And there's so many things you could journal on, things you're grateful for. I had like rage journaling where if it's anger, irritation, and you're just writing and it gets so big and it's like scribbly, but you can feel it being moved onto the page and then you rip it up and burn it in your sink. Like there's just so many things that you could do depending on what you like. But be willing to dedicate that time, even if it's just for starters, 10 or 15 minutes a day. I think, people say I don't have time, and it's like, well, if you have time to scroll mindlessly on social media for 15 or 20 minutes, you have time to build this practice that's going to really help you,
And
right?
and pair the habit. Like, let's say you want to scroll on social media. Instead, what you do is make that the reward for doing the
Yes.
task, right?
Yes. You
So 5
first.
minutes of sacred rage gives you 5 to 10 minutes of scrolling if that's what you want to do.
Yeah.
That way, at least what you're doing is you're practicing your tools for dealing with the emotions, because scrolling is not going to help us
No.
when we get into that really intense emotional state by what we're seeing. And we're
Yeah.
going to be shown scary things, right? There
Yeah.
um there is scare events coming
Yeah.
that are, to wake us up, to show us what they were going to do. This is more for, show and tell than it is for real, but it's going to feel very real.
Yeah.
And even if like we know that that's coming, we have sort of the heads up, we've read about it, we're mentally
Yeah.
kind of prepared, but that doesn't mean we know what we're going to be like when we're in it. We might be surprised by our own emotional state when we find ourselves there. Just
Yeah.
like Amber was saying about last year with the wildfires. It's like we know that they do this tactic, and
Yeah.
that they've done it all over different countries. And when you're seeing it, you're like, that's crap. But then when it's happening to you, you're like, oh my God, this could affect my home, literally affect my home.
Yeah, exactly. So it's significant, and that's why the tools and techniques and trying to get grounded and like visualizing white light protecting your house, or like using energy, talking to your team, like
Every
the
night
the
before I'm
invisible
falling
forces.
asleep, I put a huge white pyramid of light over my entire property. It
I
goes over
love
the
it.
cars, over the entire home. It goes under the ground so that it's completely encasing us.
Yeah,
And this
love
is an
that.
absolutely powerful tool for protection. And when you feel that protection, it helps you calm yourself as well.
Mhm.
I was going to say, I've been doing like somatic workouts, which are kind of like yoga. It's kind of like a cross between yoga and stretching, but you're connecting with your body as you're
Yeah.
doing it. It's fairly slow. And those have been like very potent for me lately. Like that, just that taking the time to slow down and feel the movement in my body
Yeah.
has been exactly what my body wants.
Yes, I love that. And I think take a little bit of time to tap in and tune into your intuition, because as we ascend, as the energy heightens and we get these upgrades, the messages will become more and more clear and you'll get
For
them a
sure.
lot more quickly, right? So,
Mhm. So the Arcturians have been coming through a lot for me now.
right.
And one of the things that they've let us know is, look, it takes less to connect now. And they had this great metaphor. They said, where you used to be, where you had to do all these things to align yourself to
Mhm.
feel the messages and feel, spirit. They said they'd liken it to an old TV that has those rabbit ear antennas, where you'd have to like twist the
Right.
antennas
Yes.
around to get reception. But where we are at now in the process of our own evolution, but also in that process of our galaxy and how it's moving on this elliptical
Mhm.
tracked. We're in the Oort cloud now, which is where all this high frequency energy is. And we always get a boost when we're in this particular cluster.
Right.
And the golden age always arrives inside that cluster. And so what they're saying is it's like you went from needing to do all this tuning to instant connection. You're instantly connected.
Love it.
So it
Well,
takes less to tune in to your
which is
spirit, but you
great.
still have to like,
For sure. Yeah.
you know, calm and
Of
listen,
course.
but you'll go
Yes.
in really fast.
I love that. I think, and I don't know about any of you watching, but I've definitely been feeling that lately. And it feels really good, right?
Yeah.
It's just feeling more natural and aligned. And it's like, oh, this is nice.
Yeah. Yeah. So we have the highest speeds now of connectivity with our teams, with spirit itself,
Yes.
to the point where I'm really hoping that people will stop thinking that intuition is something gifted to a few people and recognize
Yeah.
that it's actually part of your human design. It's part of your makeup to be a human being, is to be intuitive.
Yes, exactly. We all have it. Let's just
Mhm.
remember how powerful we all are because we all are equally just as powerful and gifted, but it's to remember and reconnect, right?
Right. And we have different ways of connection, which makes
Yeah.
it exciting because not everyone connects the same, but
Yeah,
everyone connects. And that's the
totally.
point. Yeah.
Exactly. It's amazing. So is there anything else we want to share today? Any other tips and or anything else the cards or the team wants to share?
Um, so at the last spirit circle, which happened on the 11th, which was the 1111 portal, when the
Mm,
Arcturians came through, they let us know like you, we're a lot closer than we think we are to big events, and that they're rejoicing and that they would
yay.
encourage you to rejoice.
Yay.
Right. So it's like, don't get too caught up in the show. You can watch the show, but
Yeah.
think of it like a show and
Yeah.
intend for the highest to happen, because a big part of this is you can move individually. So a lot of people think ascension only happens as a group. No, we can individually ascend, and that
Right.
has been happening for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
But the more of us that are thinking about where we're going and what we're moving towards and visualizing it, holding it, it helps to move the group along while we're
Mm-hmm.
connected, right? So once we ascend, we're assisting from
Right.
the other side, but right now we're influencing. And
Yes.
so your intent and what you're thinking about, like if you get caught up, let's say you watch the news and you're seeing like in New York City that they're literally kicking kids out of school to move illegals into the school. That sucks. And it's really easy to activate all those lower emotions and get
Yeah.
really caught up in what you're seeing and get angry about that, which is,
Yeah.
you know, a righteous emotion. I understand it. But we want to process that in the ways that Amber just talked about, process it through your system and
Yeah.
intend, what do you want? Okay, so now what happens? Right now this gets resolved and these kids
Mm-hmm.
get their school back, that these kids,
Yeah.
and we thank them for that the children are safe, right? Children are
Yes.
safe if they're not with that group, because we don't know who's in the group. That's the problem,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah.
So we can feel like the children are safe and protected, and also that this resolves quickly and it moves through, and people, push back on it and say this isn't right, and we move forward and resolve it.
Yeah.
So we're already on the other side of it, is how we're thinking about it and what's good for these children, like what's good for us, what's good for your life. And then as you're seeing that, you're thinking about, what actions can I take right now that align to that,
Mm-hmm.
right? So um if I feel safe and protected and secure, then how do I act when I'm in that state
Right.
versus my my negative emotions are kicking up, I'm going to act differently. So we want to think about being in alignment with, what does that higher timeline look like? If you're in a safe and secure place, if you feel grounded and
Yeah.
positive, what are you doing? And then go do that thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And don't delay. Just go do it. Don't
Just like if
waver.
you're like, well, I go for a walk and I just enjoy my day, good,
Yeah.
do that, because that is
Exactly.
sending a frequency out.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And it's an energy game. So
It is. We have a lot more power and energy than, I know that there's a lot of people catching up to this, but this is like the work right now. If you want to know
yeah.
where the work is, I've never been much of an activist. I'm not poo-pooing people who do that. I just don't see, I see that really where our work is in energy, and we can do it from anywhere while we're doing anything. You could be doing the dishes and raising the
Mm-hmm.
frequency of the planet at the same time,
Yeah.
right? You could be intending, um, the more that we recognize we're connected, we're intending for things to work out. We're sending our good wishes, our blessings
Mm-hmm.
to others and helping raise them up. We can do this for
Yeah.
each other easily. We don't have to wait, and we don't have to assemble somewhere. We just have to tune in now.
Totally. Yeah. I think, and again, like we all have the ability to. So Practice.
That's right. That's
Get
right.
immerse yourself into your beautiful self-care practices and connecting. I think this is a great time to do so. I'm excited to see, with this upgrade and how we feel, and then we can talk about that too and see kind of like what are you noticing? What's shifting? What's different? So
Yeah.
where can everyone find you if they want to come and check out your work and what you have to offer?
Yeah. So we were just talking, we want to build up our numbers on Rumble. So you can
Mhm.
check us out. You can find me at Blythe Starlight
Oh,
on
thank you.
Rumble as well as YouTube. And you can also visit blythestarlight.com if you want to book a reading with me or see what else I do and offer. You can see all that there. But let's see if we can build up those Rumble numbers so we can do fun
Yes.
things over there. Because YouTube
Yes.
is part of Google, and Google just put the hammer down
I
on a bunch of
know.
stuff.
It's a
So
ticking time bomb.
if you don't see us here after all that goes down, look for us on Rumble. That's where we're going to be, and we want to go live. So join us over there and
Yes.
build up the channels. How about you, Amber? What
Yes.
channel is yours, and where can people find you?
Yeah, and I'll drop it too. So on Rumble, it's the No Sugarcoating Truth. And you can click the link in the chat and/or I'll put the details in the description below. But we're gonna, yeah, feel like more of our tribes over there not being censored is always a good thing. You can also check out the website amberproof.ca if you really are finding it difficult to prioritize yourself and you're really finding all this weird energy is fueling emotional eating and fatigue and you're not sleeping good and you're just like, I don't even know where to start on my journey to food and body freedom, then you can find a podcast, resources, a free emotional eating quiz, and a lot more below in the description to assist you on your journey, because sometimes it is nice to have some assistance, isn't it?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, totally. Well, let's see what the next week brings. Thank you all for joining us. We'll see you again very soon. And as always, if you have any ideas, leave them in the comments.
All
Bye.
right. Bye.